Fishful Thinker is brought to you by Lowrance. Find, navigate, dominate. Sportsman's Warehouse. Gear up for unforgettable.
All right, guys, you look right there. You can see all these green, couple different kinds of weeds in here. There's one stuff, looks like Elodea, and then this stringy stuff, which I'm not even sure what it is. But at the end of the day, whenever I'm fishing springtime in any kind of a pond or lake situation, it doesn't matter if I'm fishing for walleyes or trout, I'm going to be looking for the greenest weeds in the lake. The first weeds that green up after winter are going to be the most important ones. And the reason that is because those are the ones that are going to start oxygenating the water, and those are the ones that are going to get the bugs going. So the jig is acting like a bit of a depth finder for me in that regard too, is telling me where the good patches of weeds are, and then I can concentrate casts around them. So it's also why everything in the boat, everything you see rigged is on braided line, because any of these trout, if we do hook up with a big one, or if we're just getting our lures down in the weeds, the braided line's much easier to pull the lures out of the weeds. So you got a couple of them with X9, we got one over here with Ultra 8. There's different, different braids on different ones, depending on what I'm doing with them. But at the end of the day, there's braid on everything in the boat at this point, and they all have fluorocarbon leaders as well. And that fluorocarbon leaders for water clarity, I don't think it necessarily makes a big giant difference with the lake stirred up like it is. But the other thing the fluorocarbon allows me is a little bit of teeth resistance. So the thing about braided line is it's very strong tensile strength, but it doesn't like sharp stuff. And fluorocarbon does a pretty good job of that. So there's either 6, 8, or 10-pound fluorocarbon leader on everything I'm throwing. All right, new section of the lake altogether, guys. And you'll notice we're kind of up and out of the wind, and that has nothing to do with ducking the wind. It's just setting up a drift. Now we're gonna go all the way down this bank, and the farther we go down this bank, the windier it's gonna get. So we're gonna set up a drift. It's a really good way to get trout, is just setting up drifts and then circle back upwind and drift down. Also keeps you from burning up your trolling motor batteries. That's not an issue in this boat, but in some boats it is. So just set up drifts, control drifts, just use the trolling motor. There he is, forgot about time. All right, we'll anchor right there. I want to point out, that fish bit repeatedly, and I just kept making casts and into the same area, and he finally choked it. And look at that, come here, guy. All right, I better get to my net. Oh, maybe not yet. And we always try to land trout really fast, guys, because delayed mortality is a real thing. The longer you play fish, the less chance there is that they're gonna live. So we want to be quick about it, and that is a gorgeous trout, guys. We'll leave him in the water for a second. Another one on the power minnow. Look at this brown trout, guys. I mean, that's my arm. That's no stiff arming. There's the length of my arm, and I want to point out that I'm 9 feet tall and have 4-foot arms. Just kidding, I'm a little scrawny dude. Look at the teeth, big old giant teeth in there. That is a beautiful brown trout right there, guys, and we'll go ahead and get him put back. What's this? No worse for the wear. Now, I don't have a clock on me, but I'd be willing to bet from about the time I set the hook to the time that fish was swimming away was maybe 30, 40 seconds, and that's important. We take our trout care very seriously around here. There it is, that's the 4-inch bait, 4-inch Berkeley Power minnow right there on the 1/4 ounce mushroom head jig. And I'm just doing the Bernie, wind it, and then let it settle back down, and wind it and let it settle back down. It's a stop and go retrieve. It's a fantastic way to catch trout. The reason a rainbow trout color, guys, is because trout are very voracious predators of each other. Brown trout eat rainbows and vice versa. So we'll take advantage of that trait and see if we can catch some more of them. But the thing is, places like this, where we are right here, it's a brood lake, meaning that they stock loads and loads of brown trout in here, and they do that so that they'll have a place to come harvest eggs to stock all around the state. So it's a really important fishery from that regard. But the other thing about it is, because it's got grass beds and everything, and it grows fish really fast, and on top of that, the high number of browns that are popping out eggs in the fall, and conversely the rainbows in the spring, they eat each other's eggs. So we have had lots and lots of talks with the biologist that manages this lake for Colorado Parks and Wildlife. These fish do not reproduce naturally in here. They go through the motions. You'll see them doing it on the bank, but they are not effective at doing it. They need more running water to do it. It's strictly a stocked lake, and that's really what it's all about. But that doesn't mean we don't want to take good care of particularly the brown trouts or any other trout for that matter, but especially the browns because we want them here in fall. And I love a brown trout. It's my favorite trout species. So the more of them we can stock around the state, the better, which means the easier we are in them in here, the better off we are.
Fishful Thinker is brought to you by Berkeley, your fish, our science. Abu Garcia, Fish to Win. Sportsman's Warehouse, gear up for unforgettable.
So the retrieve that I'm doing so far that's been the most productive is what I call doing the Bernie. It's really a stop and go retrieve, but I'll point the rod more or less at the bait, not quite all the way at the bait, wind it about 4 times real quick, and then just kill it and let it go back to the bottom, and do it 2 or 3 times, 4 times maybe, and kill it and let it go back to the bottom. Might do 5 or 6 as the bait's if the bait's farther out there, and then let it go back. And basically what happens is it swims hard up and then it stalls and it swings back to you on tight line. You always have control of the bait that way. I can always feel where the bait is in the water column that way. The rod is never out of position at any point, and that's important. The reason I don't want the rod pointed straight at it is I want a little bit of give in case one of these trout grab it on the full speed reel, which will definitely happen at times, but more often than not, they're gonna grab it right when you stop reeling. Right when that thing almost stops in the water column and heads for the bottom at full speed is when they're gonna grab it on the drop. But doing the Bernie like that works fantastic. It's easy, anybody can do it. You're always in a good position for a hook set, and you can cover a tremendous amount of water in a hurry, and it leads to discipline. So because your rod's always in a good position, I never get caught with my rod up here or a bunch of extra slack. Also, the wind is never blowing my line around. So that's a key thing as well. So doing the Bernie, it's a homage to Bernie Keefe, who former lake trout guide here, who taught us most of what we know about lake trout fish. Oh, I just got bumped. Oh, he bumped it on the dead slack drop. Got him. I told you I know how to hook them now. That's a big one there, dudes. All right, we always talk about let each fish tell you how to catch the next one. I don't know if we were rolling, but I just finished telling the camera guy I figured it out, and that's literally the next cast. And now I know what it takes to get these fish to commit to my jig, and that's the important thing here. Boat spot locked down. And here he's coming around right there under the surface. That's a nice brown again, guys. Look at that thing. This is a quality trout right here. He's got a 6-pound Trillium 100% fluorocarbon leader, an 8-pound braid, 8-pound X9 braid. Come on around. Oop, 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 oop. My network could use some work. This looks a lot like the one I just caught a second ago. I just want to point out that's a good looking fish. In fact, I'm going to put him back in the net, put him back in the drink, and we're going to take his picture real quick. And a lot of times with trout at any of this style lakes, it's been my experience that they will just roam an area. They're not going to sit in one spot. It's very rare. They're going to move up and down or along the edge of a drop-off or along a certain contour line on the bank or over a certain rock point or something, but they're typically not going to sit in one spot. It's going to be a motion, it's going to be a constant roam. And so if you sit in, you got 2 modes of thought. You can sit in one area and have trout cycle through, which is what a lot of the guys that are fly fishing here will do, or you can be aggressive and fish around and cover a bunch of water and try to run into them. Either way, both are very, very effective. It just depends on the mindset of the angler involved. You know, trollers take it to the extreme. They keep trolling all the way around until they run into fish. But either way, you got options. And beauty of fishing is there's no wrong answer. Some are better than others, but there's no wrong answers.